Marcus Chin sat in his small apartment, staring at the bills piled on his table. His leg ached where the metal prosthetic connected to what remained of his knee. 5 years since the war ended and he was still fighting, just a different kind of battle now. The government check barely covered rent. His medication cost more than food. A blue light suddenly filled his living room. Marcus jumped up, reaching for the baseball bat he kept by the couch. A holographic message floated in the air, official seals spinning around golden text. He squinted at it. The Calithian Empire? The aliens? This has to be a scam, he muttered. 2 hours later he knew it was not a scam. 2 very real Calithian guards stood outside his door, their silver armor gleaming. They were 7 feet tall and looked like they meant business. Marcus Chin, you must come with us, one said in accented English. At the embassy, a Calithian official named Thelax sat across from Marcus. The alien's skin was pale blue, his eyes large and dark. Do you remember the diplomatic incident at the Seattle summit? 4 years ago? Thelaxor asked. Marcus frowned, thinking back. The shooting? Yeah, I was working security that day. You pulled our king out of the line of fire. Marcus barely remembered it. Everything had happened so fast. A gunman, people screaming, his body moving on instinct. He had grabbed someone important looking and yanked them behind a concrete barrier. He did not even know it was their king. King Vorthek the Magnificent died last month, Thelexor continued. In his will, he left you something. Left me what? I don't understand. Thelexor's expression looked uncomfortable. His dragon. Ember. Marcus laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. I can barely feed myself. What am I supposed to do with a dragon? The king's wishes are law. She arrives in 1 hour. Marcus stumbled out of the embassy in shock. A dragon. An alien dragon. This was insane. He rode the bus home, his mind spinning. What did dragons even eat? Where would it sleep? His apartment was barely 400 square feet. The transport arrived right on schedule. Marcus stood on the street with his neighbors, all of them staring at the massive armored vehicle that blocked traffic. News drones buzzed overhead. Someone was live streaming. The transport doors opened with a hiss of hydraulics. Ember emerged and Marcus forgot how to breathe. She was huge, bigger than a city bus, with scales the color of polished obsidian. They caught the sunlight and shimmered like oil on water. Her wings were folded against her back, each one looking strong enough to create hurricanes. Her eyes glowed like molten gold, ancient and intelligent. She looked at Marcus. Then she spoke, her voice clear and feminine with perfect pronunciation. Oh wonderful. I have been downgraded from royalty to this. Marcus's jaw dropped. You talk. Of course I talk, you simple creature. I speak 6 languages, including your painfully simple English. She tilted her massive head, studying him with clear disdain. You are the human who grabbed the king? I saved his life, yeah. Barely. You got lucky. Ember snorted, smoke curling from her nostrils. And now I am stuck with you because the king had a sentimental streak. Listen, dragon. My name is Ember. Use it. Marcus felt anger rising through his shock. Fine. Ember. I did not ask for this. I can barely pay rent. I cannot afford to keep you. Do you think I want to be here? Ember's voice cracked slightly just for a moment. I belong to a king. I lived in palaces. Now I am given to a broken human in a broken building. They stared at each other, both angry, both grieving different things. Marcus's landlord chose that moment to appear, red-faced and yelling. Chin. You cannot keep that thing here. Ember swung her head toward the landlord. Thing? The man turned pale and ran. Despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. This was going to be a disaster. But watching his terrible landlord flee from a dragon? That felt good. I guess you are staying? He asked. Ember sighed, a sound like wind through a canyon. It appears I have no choice. The king's will is binding. Then we need to figure this out. Yes, Ember agreed quietly. We do. The explosion came at 3 in the morning. Marcus woke to the sound of his window shattering. Years of military training kicked in before his brain fully processed what was happening. He rolled off his mattress as energy blasts tore through the wall where his head had been seconds ago. Ember, he shouted. The dragon crashed through his bathroom, scales scraping against the doorframe. We have to leave. Now. What's happening? Calithian mercenaries. They want me dead. Ember's eyes blazed with fear and anger. Get on my back. Marcus did not argue. He grabbed his old military pack, always kept ready, and climbed onto Ember's back. Her scales were warm beneath his hands. She launched through the ruined wall into the night sky. Below them, Marcus saw 3 figures in dark armor firing weapons at them. Energy bolts lit up the darkness. Ember dodged, her wings beating hard. Why are they shooting at us? Marcus yelled over the wind. Because of what I carry. Ember banked hard left, nearly throwing Marcus off. He gripped tighter. There is a data crystal embedded in my chest. The king put it there before he died. It contains dangerous information. They flew for 20 minutes before Ember started descending. Marcus recognized the area. An old military base from the Resource Wars, abandoned for years. He had trained here once. Ember landed hard, breathing heavily. Marcus slid off her back, his prosthetic leg protesting. I know this place. We can hide here. Inside the old command center, Marcus found emergency lights still working. Ember curled up in the corner, looking smaller than before despite her massive size. Tell me about the crystal, Marcus said. Ember was quiet for a long moment. The king discovered a conspiracy. Members of the Calithian High Council are working with human separatists. They plan to sabotage the alliance between our species. Why would humans do that? Because they fear us, and some Calithians fear you. Together they want war. Ember's voice grew softer. The king trusted me with the evidence. I was his confidant. His friend. Marcus heard the grief in her voice. You miss him. Every day. A small flame flickered from her nose. He was the only one who did not despise me. Why do they despise you? Ember laughed bitterly. Because I learned your human languages. Your culture. Your music and art. Calithians believe I became contaminated. Impure. The king thought differently. He said understanding humans was wisdom, not weakness. Marcus sat down against the wall. His leg ached. I know what it feels like. Being rejected by your own people. How? I came back from war broken. People thanked me for my service, then avoided looking at me. Like I reminded them of something uncomfortable. Marcus touched his prosthetic. The government gave me a medal and barely enough money to survive. They sat in silence, 2 outcasts from different worlds. We need to decrypt the crystal, Marcus finally said. Can you access it? Ember nodded. She touched her chest and light spilled out between her scales. Holographic data filled the air. Marcus watched, his military mind analyzing the information. This is bad, he whispered. They are planning a false flag attack, making it look like humans attacked Calithian colonies. When? Marcus found the timestamp. 72 hours from now. That is not enough time. Then we move fast. Marcus stood up, his tactical mind already working. He started gathering materials from the old base. Copper wire, metal sheets, old electronics. First, we make sure they cannot track us. What are you doing? Building a shield. A Faraday cage. It blocks signals. Marcus worked quickly, his hands steady despite everything. He wrapped sections of metal around the room, connecting them with wire. Ember watched with fascination. You are making weapons from garbage. Not weapons. Protection. We adapt. We improvise. Marcus grinned despite the danger. That is what humans do. It is horrifying, Ember said slowly. And brilliant. Marcus finished the last connection. Now they cannot find us with scanners. We have time to think. The king told me humans were resilient. I thought he meant stubbornly stupid. Ember's golden eyes met his. I was wrong. We are both, Marcus admitted. But that is our strength. Outside, dawn was breaking. They had 71 hours to stop a war. Marcus stared at his old military contact list. He had not called these people in years. Pride, shame, pain, all of it had kept him isolated. But this was bigger than his pride. He started with Jean Park. She answered on the 3rd ring. Marcus? Is that really you? I need help, Jean. Big help. Within 6 hours, 3 people stood in the abandoned base with him. Jean Park, small and sharp-eyed, her fingers always moving like she was typing on invisible keyboards. Carlos Rodriguez, built like a tank with pilot skills that defied physics. And Amara Okoye, the combat medic who had saved Marcus's life twice during the war. They all stared at Ember. You have got to be kidding me, Carlos said. You called us here for a dragon? Not just a dragon, Marcus explained. He told them everything. The conspiracy, the crystal, the attack planned in 64 hours. Jean walked right up to Ember, fearless. Can you really access Calithian networks? Ember lifted her head proudly. I have photographic memory and electromagnetic sense. I can interface with any system. Prove it, Jean challenged. Ember closed her eyes. Suddenly Jin's tablet turned on by itself. Data scrolled across the screen, encrypted Calithian files translated into English in real time. Okay, Jin breathed. That is incredible. Carlos was not convinced. Even if we believe all this, how do we stop it? We are 4 humans and a dragon against an empire. We infiltrate the Calithian diplomatic station, Marcus said. Access their communication arrays. Broadcast the evidence before the attack happens. That is suicide, Amara said quietly. Maybe, Marcus agreed. But it is also the right thing to do. His friends looked at each other. Then one by one they nodded. I am in, Jean said first. Someone needs to fly, you idiots, Carlos added. Amara smiled. I did not survive the war just to hide during peace. Ember watched this exchange with confusion. Why do you agree so easily? You do not know me. This is not your problem. Marcus trusts you, Amara said simply. That is enough. Over the next day they planned. Jean worked on hacking protocols while Carlos modified their transport ship. He pulled parts from 3 different vessels, combining human, Calithian, and even some Rigelian technology. This should not work, Ember observed as Carlos welded mismatched hull plates together. But it will, Carlos grinned. Duct tape and determination, dragon. Human engineering at its finest. Jean cracked the Calithian encryption by studying their cultural patterns instead of brute force computing. They think in hierarchies. Everything is top-down. So I just convinced their system I was someone important. You lied to a computer? Ember asked. Social engineering. We are good at it. Ember was beginning to understand. Calithians follow rules. You humans, you rewrite them. The night before the mission, Ember and Marcus stood watch together. The others slept. I was wrong about your species, Ember said quietly. You were scared, Marcus replied. Fear makes everyone stupid. Even dragons. I learned your languages because I loved your music. Your stories. The way you hope even when hope is illogical. Ember's voice was soft. But I kept it secret. I was ashamed. The king was not ashamed of you. No. He said my curiosity was strength. Ember looked at Marcus. You remind me of him. Stubborn. Kind. Foolishly brave. Marcus smiled. I will take that as a compliment. The infiltration happened at dawn. Carlos flew them in using stolen diplomatic codes. Jin's hacking got them through 3 security layers. Ember used her barely valid royal credentials for the rest. They reached the communication center. Jean started downloading the data crystal's contents. Then alarms screamed. Guards poured in from every entrance. And walking behind them, calm and smiling, was Ambassador Thelexor. Marcus Chin, the ambassador said. Did you really think I would not be watching? Marcus's blood ran cold. You are behind this. Behind it? I created it. Thelexor gestured and more guards surrounded them. The alliance between our species is poison. I will purify it with fire. They fought hard. Carlos took down 3 guards before being stunned. Jean and Amara fought back to back until the numbers overwhelmed them. Ember tried to use her fire, but they had weapons designed specifically for dragons. Marcus was the last one standing. He swung at Thelexor but something hit him from behind. Pain exploded through his skull. Darkness took him. He woke in a cell alone. Somewhere far away he heard Ember roaring his name. Marcus woke on cold metal. His head throbbed. The cell was small, barely 10 feet across, with energy bars glowing across the entrance. 2 other prisoners sat in the corners, both human. New arrival, one muttered. Political prisoner? Something like that, Marcus said, touching the wound on his head. His vision swam. He forced himself to focus. Amara had taught him breathing techniques for the pain. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. The panic faded. The clarity came. How long until they execute us? He asked. Tomorrow morning, the other prisoner said. Public execution. They will blame us for the attack. Marcus checked his internal clock. 18 hours left. The false flag operation would happen in 12. He had to move now. He studied the guards through the energy bars. Young Calithians, nervous, checking their weapons too often. They were scared. Good. Fear could be used. Guard, Marcus called out. I need to talk to your commander. Shut up, human. You know this is wrong, don't you? Marcus kept his voice calm, reasonable. Thelexor is going to start a war. Millions will die. Calithians and humans. We follow orders, the guard said, but his hand shook. I followed orders once too, Marcus said. Right up until those orders meant killing innocent people. Then I had to choose, follow orders or do what was right. He paused. You have the same choice now. The second guard shifted uncomfortably. What do you mean? Thelexor is lying to you. The attack he planned will kill Calithian civilians too. Check the target coordinates if you don't believe me. The guards looked at each other. One pulled up a data pad. His face went pale. Colony 7, he whispered. My family lives there. 20 minutes later Marcus was free. The guards had unlocked his cell and 3 others. They were defecting, horrified by what they had discovered. Where is the dragon? Marcus demanded. Detention level 5. But she is locked down. The restraints are unbreakable. Marcus smiled grimly. You don't know Ember. Detention level 5 was deep underground. Marcus ran despite his aching leg, the freed prisoners and defecting guards following. They burst through the security door. Ember was chained in the center of a large room, restraints glowing around her neck, wings and legs. Technology suppression fields hummed in the air. But smoke was rising from the restraints. They sparked and flickered. What is she doing? One guard asked. Marcus understood immediately. She is overloading the system. The restraints are designed for logical Calithian dragons. But Ember learned from humans. Ember had fed the system contradictory commands, impossible requests, paradoxes that made the programming spiral into chaos. It was illogical, chaotic, purely human thinking. With a screech of breaking metal, the restraints exploded. Ember rose to her full height, eyes blazing. Marcus. Here. He ran to her. She lowered her head, touching her nose to his forehead. I thought they had killed you. Can't get rid of me that easy. Marcus climbed onto her back. We have 11 hours. Then we split up, Ember said. Your team stops the physical attack. I broadcast the truth. That is too dangerous alone. I am the king's heir. I must do this. Ember's voice was firm. This is my choice, Marcus. Let me make it. Marcus understood. She needed this. Needed to prove herself, to honor the king's memory, to choose humanity over fear. Okay, he said. But you better survive, Em. I am getting used to having you around. Ember laughed, tears in her golden eyes. The king told me something before he died. He said humanity's greatest weapon is not your technology or your violence. It is your ability to inspire others to be better. She launched into the air. Marcus watched her go, his heart tight. Come on, he told his team. We have a weapon to disable. They split into 2 groups. Jean hacked into the attack system while Carlos and Amara cleared the path. Marcus led them using every trick he had learned in the war. The weapon was in a hidden facility. A massive energy cannon aimed at Earth. They had 6 minutes. Marcus planted the charges while energy beams cut through the air around them. Carlos provided cover fire. Jean overrode the launch sequence. The weapon powered down with 3 seconds remaining. At the same moment, across the city, Ember broadcast the truth on every channel. The conspiracy was exposed. Thelexor's crimes played for all to see. But the ambassador had one final move. He activated an override code. The weapon came back online, aimed directly at Earth's largest city. 30 minutes until impact. 30 minutes. Marcus stared at the countdown on the screen. The weapon was locked. Only royal authorization could stop it now. Ember, he shouted into his communicator. We need someone from the royal family. The king had no blood heirs, Ember's voice crackled back. And I am despised. They stripped my rights years ago. Marcus's mind raced. Then something clicked. You were in his will. That makes you his heir. Not under Calithian law. I am not blood family. But under human law you are. Marcus was already running. Get to the High Council chamber. Now. They met outside the grand building where the Calithian High Council gathered. Ember landed hard, her scales scorched from battle. Marcus limped up beside her, his team behind him. Inside, the council sat in judgment. 12 ancient Calithians, their faces cold and disinterested. We have no time for this human, the head counselor said. 26 minutes until Earth dies, Marcus said. And only royal authorization stops that weapon. Ember is the king's heir. She is contaminated. Not worthy of the title. Marcus stepped forward. King Vorthek put her in his will. That makes her his chosen heir. Not by blood but by choice. Human law recognizes chosen family. We are not human. No, but the king chose to understand us. He chose Ember knowing she loved human culture. Marcus's voice grew stronger. He did not despise her for learning our ways. He loved her for it. He saw what we could become together. The counselors murmured among themselves. The countdown continued. 22 minutes. She must prove her worth, another counselor declared. The traditional test of wisdom. Answer our question correctly or be denied. Ember stepped forward, her head held high. Ask. What is the greatest strength a leader can possess? The chamber fell silent. This was a question Calithian princess studied for years. Ember had seconds to answer. She closed her eyes. Marcus saw her thinking, remembering. When she spoke, her voice was clear. The king taught me that the greatest strength is not power or intelligence. It is empathy. The ability to understand those different from yourself. She opened her eyes. Humans taught me this too. They are weak individually, but together they are unbreakable. Because they care. Because they hope. Because they choose each other. She looked at Marcus. I am Calithian. I am human taught. I am both. And that is not contamination. That is evolution. That is the future. The head counselor was silent for a long moment. 18 minutes remained. The king would have said the same thing, he finally whispered. Access granted. Ember touched the terminal. Her royal codes, now recognized, flowed through the system. The weapon powered down. The countdown stopped at 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Earth was saved. Marcus felt his legs give out. Amara caught him. Around them, people were cheering. Thelexor was arrested an hour later, along with his conspirators. The truth spread across both human and Calithian worlds. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a real kitchen, cooking tacos. The apartment was huge now, with reinforced floors for a dragon's weight. Ember lay curled by the window, reading a human novel on a tablet made for her claws. You know, for a species that cannot breathe fire, you are not completely useless, she said without looking up. Marcus smiled. Love you too, Em. Ember set down the tablet. The king would have liked you. I think I would have liked him too. She touched her chest, where the data crystal had been removed safely. He left one more message. For both of us. A hologram appeared. King Vorthek looking tired but happy. Marcus Chin, the recording said. If you are seeing this, you saved my Ember. And she saved you. This is what I always hoped for. Not mere alliance but friendship. Thank you for proving that humanity's greatest strength is not your weapons, but your hearts. The hologram faded. Marcus and Ember sat together in comfortable silence, two outcasts who had found family in each other. Outside, the sun set over a world where dragons and veterans could finally rest.